Friday, and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Sinead DeVries, and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us this morning is Dennis Tzeng.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Collider Movie Talk. Last week, it was my 40th birthday. It's a week later. I had to tell you, things just go downhill from there. It's
that's
like,
a shame.
Really?
Wow.
No surprise. Like, just
Really?
the peak, and then it just goes down.
Oh, well, luckily I have many weeks left before I hit that number.
Yeah.
Many weeks.
Me too.
Yeah,
Oh,
you and I
boy.
both, kid.
I don't want to hear it from anybody.
Yeah, also here is the oldest man in the room, and probably like in
What are you
Burbank.
talking about? In the world. In the world.
Oh, hey, John, she introduced you.
Yeah, is that me? All right,
Yeah,
hey.
it's John Rocha.
Now you speak.
I remember Sinead's great-great-grandmother. She wasn't as much of a smartass as this one. Let me just tell you that. This has gotten worse progressively through the descendants, let me just tell you. Hey, guys, very happy to be back. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk about this stuff.
Where's your red shirt?
I know, I'm blue shirt guy today. Let's
Okay.
be honest. I ran out of red shirts.
Let's be honest, you'll always be red shirt.
Yeah, that's fine.
Also here is Mark Ellis.
It's just a blessing to be sitting next to Sinead and also Mickey Rooney's acting coach. I'm very
knew that
happy to
guy.
be here on our last show before Independence Day, so I dressed accordingly. And this is also just my warm-up attire for when I go against JTE in the movie trivia showdown later on today. I'm primed, I'm ready, I'm lubed up. Let's do this. What?
All right, guys, before we get into the first topic, I want to mention, like, the Comic-Con contest is over. We've been plugging that. It ended yesterday. We'll have the winners hopefully sometime soon. But we have another contest for Carnage Park, the horror film.
Ooh.
Collider Nightmares is
that's great.
putting this on. They're hosting a Tastemaker screening. All you have to do is tweet at us at Collider Video, hashtag Collider Nightmares, hashtag Carnage Park. Mention Carnage Park to win some tickets. The screening is on Wednesday, July 6th. Everyone it'll be randomly chosen. Just tweet it at us, and I think Perry, Clark, and the rest of them will pick out a name next Tuesday on the show. You don't have to actually do anything, just put in your name. And I think Riley, Schnepp, and Perry are going to show up to that actual screening. So you guys can meet them there.
Meet some celebrities.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right, what's with the first topic?
Peter Jackson has been taking some time off for the past year and a half since his last effort, The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, with zero news about what the Oscar-winning director will be doing for his next project. Now, thanks to a report from New Zealand's Time Out magazine, we have some answers. Speaking with Steven Spielberg about the BFG, the director revealed that The Adventures of Tintin 2 is still alive, with Jackson working on the script along with a secret project for the filmmaker's Amblin Entertainment. Here's what Spielberg said. Peter was so busy with The Hobbit that it took him away from Tintin, and he's doing another film for my company now. It's a secret. Nobody knows about it. Then after that, he'll do Tintin. There's no word yet on a release for Tintin 2 or when we can expect the secret Amblin project that Spielberg mentions. Jackson did say at one point he was looking to return to smaller projects, so perhaps that's what he is working on for the Amblin project. Dennis, do you think there will actually be a Tintin 2 based on Spielberg's comments?
I do think there is going to be one. The first one didn't make a ton of money. I think it made about 70 or 80 domestically. I think worldwide close to 400. I think for an animated movie of that stature, you're expecting a little bit more. I actually really liked the movie. I thought it was kind of a young Indiana Jones for kids. I really liked that crane sequence at the end. And we all knew that the whole deal was Peter Jackson was supposed to produce the first one with Spielberg directing, and they were supposed to swap roles for the second one. That never happened, especially because Peter Jackson wasn't supposed to direct the Hobbit movies. Guillermo del Toro was, and then when he dropped out, Peter Jackson kind of stepped in, and that's 3 movies. That's a long time, a little part of your career. It's interesting, though, that he's doing his smaller project first before the animation, just because animation takes such a long time. I hope that he at least gets that part in gear while he's working on his smaller project. Mark?
I mean, I'm much more interested in the secret project for Amblin that nobody knows about. It's almost like when J.J. Abrams was producing 10 Cloverfield Lane, and it's like, oh, now all of a sudden this movie's a month away from being released, and we all get excited because we're not really sure what it is. Tintin is also a movie I really liked. I walked in just being like, okay, whatever this is, Steven Spielberg's doing it, I hope it's good. It's a great adventure. It did feel like a young Indiana Jones. The score by John Williams was magnificent, so I would be on board board with a new Tintin. I don't really need it in my life, though, you know? And I'm not sure that there's a huge clamor for the Adventures of Tintin, because despite how Dennis and I feel about the movie, I don't know that it was universally loved and that people were like, oh, we can't wait to get our hands on a sequel. So I think even though I did like that, I would rather see what this secret project that Peter Jackson's working on.
Rocha?
Yeah, Tintin was a lot of fun. It did make our top 10 for the Spielberg movies on the episode last week, but like it was still something we considered, both of us. We talked about it off air. It's a fun movie for anime, and I think it's Steven Spielberg's full foray into animation, right? First foray into animation fully, and it was fun. And you're right, Dennis. It didn't make a lot of money domestically, and Mark, you say that too. Like the clamoring domestically may not be wide, but it did make $373 million. Total, right? So there's enough of a interest overseas because it's based on Georges Hermé, also known as Hergé, his albums that he's done. And the first movie was all three albums, kind of elements of three albums combined, and there's supposedly 24 of these albums. So I would be surprised if there isn't a second one, because it did enough, I think, money-wise, that it would validate making another one. Plus, it won the Golden Globe for Best Animated Film in 2012. And so it's got a little bit of traction, maybe not as much, but I think by the time it comes out, we might have moved on from it mentally. So I'm not sure how much, it'll be of interest to people to see a second one.
It seems like it would be at least 2019, right? Before you can actually get this thing rolling. If Peter Jackson's already working on something, it's an animated movie. Those take time to draw and to do all the voiceovers and stuff. So, and much less craft a new story. So it just seems like it's not like a Wreck-It Ralph situation where everybody's been asking for a sequel. Right. I just don't know that the need or the desire is there. Once it comes out, people might get excited. Right. I just don't see it there yet.
I think it's smart too for Peter Jackson to take something smaller first. I mean, Frighteners is great. His smaller movies are just as much fun as these bigger things.
True.
So why not take it take it down a notch before you enter into a 2 to 3, 4 year commitment to an animated film? That's a lot to ask of a producer coming off 2 trilogies that were so massive.
And do you think people are more excited to see Peter Jackson do something different than the Hobbit movies and Lord of the Rings? I mean, that's a big chunk of now his filmography. Yeah. You're talking about some of his smaller films. I mean, the only movie I think I watched during that period that he did was The Lovely Bones, and I thought that was
it was okay. Right.
But I think people maybe are excited to see him do something different than that. Or do you think people have kind of slightly fallen off of Peter Jackson because of kind of the lackluster reception that the Hobbit trilogy got?
Yeah, I love the Hobbit trilogy, so I'm not the person
you're full of surprises today. Your Independence Day resurgence drop.
Are we talking about that publicly?
You can't just let something like that fly in a studio where there's cameras and microphones and not expect us to bring it up.
If you want to talk about the movies you love and even that everyone else loves, you've got to be able to talk about the movies maybe that you like that other people hated.
Listen, in fairness to Rocha, he said that he enjoyed how bad Independence Day was. If I'm translating you
Resurgence, not the first one.
It was deliciously awful, and it was just fun to just turn your brain off for 2.5 hours. And I wasn't expecting layered, nuanced characters. To me, it was a fun little time in the theater. I went to see it at a matinee, so I didn't expect much. You guys had talked it down so much that my expectations were so low that I just enjoyed my time in the theater. That's all. But the last half hour is terrible. Everything leading up to it is at least passable or enjoyable. That last half hour was ridiculous.
Yeah, my brain doesn't have that off switch. I was flipping every switch in my brain, believe me. Nothing was working at Resurgence. As far as the premise you give us, Dennis, it almost feels like I'm on a game show where I can pick what's in the box. Is it going to be Peter Jackson's secret project, or am I going to go with the sure thing with Tintin 2? Yeah. I'm taking the secret project. Maybe it's Heavenly Creatures 2. Maybe it's a Halo movie. We don't know, but I want to see the mystery more than I want to see something that I know is going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys, that's it for our main topics. Now we're moving on to buy or sell. Sinead, what do we got first?
Over the past few months, news has been slowly rolling out about Pacific Rim 2. We know that Daredevil Season 1 showrunner Stephen S. DeKnight would be taking over directing duties from Guillermo del Toro, with Jurassic World co-writer Derek Connolly penning the script. And a few weeks back, we learned that John Boyega had been cast in the lead role as Idris Elba's stacker Pentecost son. Now, add a release date onto the news. Yesterday, Universal and Legendary Pictures announced that Pacific Rim 2 will open on February 23rd, 2018, 1 week after Black Panther Panther, and 1 week before the killer shark movie Meg, as well as an untitled Fox and Marvel movie that may possibly be Deadpool 2 or New Mutants. Later in the day came word from The Hollywood Reporter that Scott Eastwood would also be joining the movie alongside Boyega in a role that hasn't yet been revealed. The 3D epic adventure will be produced by returning Pacific Rim producers Thomas Tull, Guillermo del Toro, and Mary Parent. Mark, do you buy or sell Eastwood in Pacific Rim 2 along with its release date?
I buy that it's just not fair that Scott Eastwood looks that good. And is he talented as well? That's BS, man. Nobody should have that much going for him. But if he does, congratulations, and I'll buy you in Pacific Rim 2 because I want to see this movie. I think it's a perfect release date to open it, February 23rd. There's not going to be a whole lot of competition then. Though it does sound like, from Sinead's description, there's more movies circling around there, including a giant shark movie called Meg that's going to be awesome. This is just an excuse for me to talk about how great it's going to be to watch Jason Statham try to kickbox a shark to death that's like 30 feet long. That movie's going to be great. And Pacific Rim 2, sure.
Maybe you should temper your expectations. Nope. You just had a kind of a disappointing experience with the shells, or are you doubling down?
I am right back up on the horse or shark, as it were. Meg is going to be legendary, dude. It's going to be great. You know what the one thing that was missing from The Shallows? Jason Statham.
Oh.
All right, Rocha, what do you think?
I thought maybe acting was missing from the show. All right, so Pacific Rim 2. I'm not, okay, how can I say this? I tentatively buy the film. I did not like the first one. Really irritated me to death. Yes, I know. I'm all over the place.
Now I remember why you're on my shit list.
Where was the off switch on your brain that day?
Yeah, I expect more from Guillermo del Toro. I didn't expect much from Roland Emmerich. So, I mean, it's just logical in that way for me. Do I buy or sell Eastwood? It doesn't do anything for me, so I kind of sell it. He's done smaller films, straight-to-video films, and occasional feature films that his dad has directed, and he was in Fury, which to me is still one of my underground favorite films, I think from last year. I loved Fury, and he was good in Fury. So he's a good actor. He looks a lot like his dad. It's fascinating how much he looks like his dad. You know, like Rumor Willis doesn't look like Bruce Willis at all, but Scott Eastwood really does look like Clint Eastwood, and it's great to see. So, I mean, it doesn't sell me on the film anymore. So Boyega is what sells me on the film. I love that Boyega is going to be in it. I love that it's not Guillermo del Toro doing Pacific Rim. So we'll get a new take on it. Maybe I'll enjoy this one a little better than the first one. So that's my idea.
I mean, as far as Scott Eastwood's concerned, I tentatively, but I haven't really seen him in much. I mean, I didn't watch any of those. What was that one like? That with Britt Robertson.
He was in the Nicholas Sparks bull riding movie.
Yeah,
where he plays a bull rider.
With Britt Robertson, right?
Yeah.
I forgot.
I think
The longest ride.
Yeah. Didn't see it.
The longest ride.
I mean, I've seen Fury, and I've seen he was in Gran Torino, but it didn't really stand out to me.
Yeah.
So
He was great in The Longest Ride.
You know, I have a feeling.
I'll take your word for it, Sinead.
I haven't seen the movie, but I'm willing to bet that The Longest Ride, what they're talking about is not him on a bull, but maybe the ride that his heart takes.
Oh, snap.
You would be correct. You would be correct.
But him coming on board, you know, with John Boyega, they still haven't announced the original cast returning at all. So I don't know if it's a situation where this is a brand new team that's going to be training and become the new Jaeger pilots, or if they are going to bring back the old cast and maybe have them train these guys. I'm not too sure. I'm excited either way. This is what I consider a good popcorn movie where you shut your brain off. I actually thought Guillermo del Toro did a good job on this film, the way that he was able to construct all the scenes, and especially the fighting scenes.
How much fun are we going to have in February? That February.
Yeah.
If you get a Deadpool 2 and you get this, then you get Meg the next week. Like, it's going to be a good month.
Yeah, I buy the release date because they originally put the first Pacific Rim, like I think in July sometime during the big blockbuster tentpole season. It just couldn't survive. It didn't have the name recognition. Also, it's a terrible name. I love the movie franchise, but it's a terrible name. Pacific Rim. That sounds like a World War II movie, not a movie about giant robots fighting giant monsters. So
is that what it was?
Well, what movie was it to you?
Oh man.
Oh.
I liked the name. I was excited. Robots fighting Japanese culture, samurai stuff. Like, I was so dialed in and so disappointed. The best part of the film is Idris Elba's speech. That's it.
Where he's canceling the apocalypse?
Yes, he was so great, but everything else was so kind of like you had to believe this story between her and him, and it just wasn't. It just didn't buy. And you can't deny that it wasn't universally beloved. It was kind of half and half.
I think it got mixed reviews, but
yeah.
Speaking of the February release date, though, it almost kind of doesn't matter because the whole reason they made a sequel is because of the international success, specifically China. So if it comes out and does modestly well here, maybe does same numbers as last time, which is around 100 million, but it kills overseas, then they'll make another one.
Can I ask you a quick question? You guys, like, as talking about Independence Day resurgence, like, seriously, they really tried to play to the China market. It's becoming more and more obvious in these blockbuster films. Does this bother you at all? Or are we as Americans kind of xenophobic that we're used to being played to and the occasional international person shows up? Because I thought it was so blatant that I'm like, is this just the way we're going
it's just like Transformers,
now?
the last Transformers.
That's what I'm trying to bring up. Like, it seems to be becoming a pattern in these
For me, you know, especially as speaking as someone that's Asian, I like seeing Asian people on the screen. However, I don't like the idea that I wish it was motivated by something besides money.
Do you feel it's organic or being shoehorned?
Oh, it's not organic at all.
That's what I'm asking.
Come on.
That's what I'm asking.
No.
It doesn't bother me, but I need things in movies that make good films. Like, I don't care what the people look like on screen. I just want a good story. I want a little bit of personality, some charisma, some energy.
Yeah.
I want to see some maybe capable acting, a good script. And I got none of that in Independence Day Resurgence. I got some of that in Pacific Rim. I thought the action scenes in Pacific Rim are what separated it from the heaping pile of effects crap that is Transformers. Like, I could actually see what was going on. I could see the fighting styles of the Kaiju versus the Jaegers, and I appreciated that more so than in Independence Day Resurgence or a Transformers crap fest.
All right, what's next?
2 new trailers were released for Bad Moms, one green band and one red band. The R-rated comedy features the principal trio of Mila Kunis, Kristen Bell, and Kathryn Hahn, alongside Christina Applegate, Jada Pinkett Smith, and Annie Mumolo. Bad Moms is about Amy and her seemingly perfect life, great marriage, overachieving kids, and beautiful home and career. However, she's overworked, overcommitted, and exhausted to the point that she's about to snap. Fed up, she joins forces with 2 other overstressed moms on a quest to liberate themselves from conventional responsibilities, going on a wild, un-mom-like binge of long overdue freedom, fun, and self-indulgence. Written and directed by John Lucas and Scott Moore, Bad Moms is set to open on July 29th. Rocha, do you buy or sell the second trailer for Bad Moms?
I'm really the wrong person to ask about this. I couldn't sell this more if I had Donald Trump's money. Like, to me, it's just
so broke. So you're broke. You have no money.
That's right. That's right. All right, fine. Mark Cuban's money. To me, it does nothing for me. And in fact, it kind of bothered me because we're in this new era now where women are not supposed to be taking down other women, not supposed to be like it's about empowering women. And this film, right from the beginning, these trailers are about undercutting every single one they come in contact with and criticizing every single one they come in contact with. And to me, I guess it's funny or it's done for humor, but it just seems to me a bit out of place, and it doesn't seem interesting to me. And I love the actresses, all the actresses. Mila Kunis, Christina Applegate, Kathryn Hahn is so great when she comes in on any show that she's on. What was that show that she did that was on USA or NBC? She was fantastic in that show. And so they're all really good actresses. To me, though, this feels like one of those Gary Marshall films and that don't really work for me, and it's undercutting. And to be clear, and I don't want to be what do you call it, chauvinist. I didn't like Bad Dads, that stupid NBC sitcom either. And so it's just like, to me, it's more like, what's the point of the movie? That they're trying to break out? Well, we've seen that, and what does it mean? Like, isn't it? And do I have to buy Mila Kunis as having kids that are 12, 14 years old? Are you kidding me? She just had a baby. They're like 2 years old, these babies. She does not look like a mom. It's not believable to me. I get that it's probably really funny, and women who are moms, and Sinead, maybe you can speak to this if you saw the trailer and loved it. Like, I can't speak to because I'm not a mom. I don't know the jokes that they're making would necessarily appeal to. I'm not their demo, I'm sure. So
well, I am a mom, and I can tell you that I'm also going to sell the trailer. However, if you just presented me this thing on paper and you gave me the idea, the concept of moms who are rebelling against the system and they're tired of just being the stereotypical moms, and you gave me that cast, Christina Applegate as the head of the PTA, is genius casting. I thought Mila Kunis was great. Kathryn Hahn does the impossible because she steals scenes from John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell in Step Brothers, which I didn't think was possible to do. She is hysterical. So you give me that cast, and I'm like, I'm on board with whatever this movie wants to do. Then I saw the trailer, and it just didn't look funny to me. It felt very contrived. It felt like they were trying to be moms behaving badly, but it just didn't come off well. They throw from the producers or whoever the hangover at you, like, oh, we're not supposed to be doing this, but we are. And it just felt icky. And this is coming from somebody who hates children. And I felt bad for the kids in this movie. I just didn't think. I think comedically you can do a premise like this where it's like moms who just want to go out and have some fun because they're so tired of what the doldrums that are their lives. But I don't think this is the way to do it. Concept's great, trailer's not.
Okay, well, I'm going against you guys. I bought the trailer. I thought it was funny, especially the red band one. The green band one, not so much. I feel bad for trailer editors that have to cut those where it's like you're limited to what you have to show. You see it, and it's like it's definitely not the same. And I like the cast as well. And you have Christina Applegate as kind of the Rachel McAdams part in Mean Girls. I mean, it depends. I haven't seen the movie yet, so I don't know if it's going to be contrived or if there is going to be at least some sort of message there. And I don't know. I thought Mean Girls itself tackled that type of subject matter very well, and maybe this will, maybe it won't. I'm not too sure. Sinead?
I mean, the only reason I'm not looking forward to this movie is because I just don't find it funny. The mom stuff doesn't bother me. I'm not offended that like women are going after each other. Like I don't really care about any of that, honestly. The concept, I think, is a good concept. The idea of moms being fed up and they have like these PTA meetings. And if I remember back to like my childhood, my mom hated PTA meetings. Like every single time there was a PTA meeting, she was like, oh, I don't think I can go. And it was like always this dramatic thing. So I think that the idea, there was a good thought behind the idea. Like some moms are super excited to be like at the school all the time doing the bake sales, and other moms couldn't give a flying rat's ass. Right. And so I think that the concept is there, and I love this cast. I love Kathryn Hahn especially, and Mila Kunis. And I think it's all there, but the only reason I'm not looking forward to it is because trailer wasn't that funny. Yeah. That's it.
I remember your great grandma. She was a big fan. She's at the PTAs. She was a big fan of the PTAs.
She founded the PTA.
Yeah, she founded the PTA with 3 other women. It was amazing. So to see how far it's fallen, it's kind of heartbreaking a little bit. I'll be honest with you.
All right, what's next?
Hollywood has been trying to adapt Stephen King's massive horror novel, It, for the big screen for some time. Through the process, True Detective filmmaker Cary Fukunaga was originally attached to direct, but left over creative differences before Mama director Andy Muschietti took over. The 2-film adaptation is now moving forward with the first movie beginning principal photography. Muschietti announced the start of filming, taking to his Instagram to share some behind-the-scenes shots, including a sketch of what Pennywise might look like in the movie. If this sketch is any indication, we will be getting a truly terrifying version of the iconic villain. It is led by Hemlock Grove actor Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise and Midnight Special breakout Jaden Lieberher, as well as Finn Wolfhard, Jack Dylan Grazer, Wyatt Oleff, Chosen Jacobs, and Jeremy Ray Taylor as the main group of teens. It is slated for release on September 8th, 2017. Dennis, do you buy or sell the behind-the-scenes images announcing filming for It?
I'll buy it because the concept sketch looks really, really cool. My only concern is maybe it looks almost too cool in the sense of you kind of want something more freaky, and like Tim Curry as Pennywise, it looked real and freaky. I'm almost concerned they're gonna make this like CG in some way, and I don't know, make his mouth like do something.
Well, it's a little Ghost Ridery.
Yeah. It almost looks more like a super villain versus like a crazy killer clown. So that's my only hesitation, but I do think it looks cool. Rocha?
Yeah, I'm so on board with this. I'm such a huge fan of the novel. I read it multiple times growing up, and it's such a great concept because you're gonna do it on film, which means you have more leeway to really bring the terror in. The TV version was fantastic for the limits of TV, so I'm looking forward to what they do with this. And I like that director of Mama. I know Mama wasn't the most well-received horror movie, but I actually enjoyed it. And I'm not the biggest fan of those horror films. I thought he did a nice job with that and put nice little twists in there. So I'm looking forward to see what they do with this. I like Skarsgård, as we've said on the show before. I think when we were talking about it, when he was announced that he might be Pennywise, the thing that really sells it for me is that picture itself tells me everything we need to know. The balloons, the bike, those little pictures, that these are people that understand the material, understand the fear involved in this material. And so I think it's going to be great to see what they can do with it. And I'm looking forward to it, so I totally buy it.
Mark?
I buy it, particularly the balloons pick. It's just so creepy. Because you just see the image and it's like, oh, nice, somebody's having a party. And then you see the logo of It in the director's chair and you're like, oh, God, that's not a party we want to go to. The clown in the middle, sure, it kind of looks like Doc Brown in like Back to the Future 9. But I think that once you're actually filming the movie, I think that it's going to be that clown that we want, the sadistic, not exactly reminiscent of Tim Curry's clown, but something like what we got with Heath Ledger's Joker, where it's somebody who clearly is off kilter, has this face paint, looks like something that kids might like, but as soon as you get within, shouting distance, you can tell this is not a clown. This ain't Ronald McDonald. You do not want to mess with this guy. So I love everything I'm seeing so far.
I don't want to mess with Ronald McDonald. He's scary.
He is pretty terrifying now that I think about it.
Imagine if you saw that guy late at night in a dark alley. I'd be running the other way.
Yeah, he's just like, they had a McDonald's near where I grew up where they had like the playland and then they had a bench, but they had like a statue of Ronald McDonald sitting on the bench, and he's just got his legs crossed in a weird way, and he's got his arm
He's like waiting for you to come sit next to him.
Yeah, it just feels it's like, what are you putting in those hamburgers? Why am I suddenly drowsy? I don't trust Ronald McDonald.
Is this Jesus juice? What is this?
Oh.
I would love to see that alley, Dennis walking down the alley, Ronald's just smoking a cigarette.
And then you'll see me turn around.
Yeah. Dennis,
Go the other way.
you want a Big Mac, Dennis? You want a Big Mac?
All right, what's next?
Deadline is reporting that Paramount Pictures has picked up the rights to the book series Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Yes.
I can't even say it. From Universal, and is now developing the film as a live-action CG hybrid film. Justin Malin, who wrote the script for the upcoming Baywatch movie, will pen the script. The children's book series was created by Norman Bridwell in 1963, producing over 75 different books that have sold over 126 million copies worldwide. The series follows the canine and his owner, the young Emily Elizabeth, and the misadventures that a 25-foot-tall dog finds himself causing. The books were previously adapted into a video series in the 1980s and later 2 television shows. Universal Studios previously had the film in development for a number of years, with Astro Boy director David Bowers attached and even a 2016 release date previously announced. An animated movie, Clifford's Really Big Movie, was released in 2004. Mark, do you buy or sell a Clifford the Big Red Dog live-action movie?
Oh man, this is tough because I love that damn dog when I was a kid. I read all the red is a loose. I stared at the pictures of the big red dog and I enjoyed him. Fine, I'll buy it. It's Friday. I got some pennies left over. I'll buy this because I think it's going to do well. I think it's a concept that kids are going to be on board with. We have the effects nowadays to make it look like a real big red dog is there hanging out with whatever 9-year-old loser he pals around with. And then I'm really going to buy once this 25-foot red dog goes up against the Kaija and the Jaeger in Pacific Rim 3, Clifford's Revenge. That's what I really want to see.
I'll see that movie as well. I'm going to have to sell this, though, until I actually watch the movie. I also read the books when I was younger. I like them. But everyone knows I hate these stupid live-action hybrid movies. These, like, the Chipmunks and the Smurfs, and they just creep me out. Look, Paddington was an exception to that rule. But even then, when I saw the trailers, I didn't like it at all. I saw the movie. I thought it was very charming, and so this movie, if I see it, maybe it'll change my mind. But any of those movies, Garfield is another one. I don't know. All of those. Why not make just a 3D animated film? That's what this was made for.
Here's the thing with the Chipmunks and the Smurfs, that they're little creatures that they just made annoying. Clifford is not gonna be annoying. You might not love the movie, but he's not gonna be a pest. And Garfield, it's tough to pull off a live action CGI hybrid Garfield because Garfield is so wry and witty, but it's also like the humor's just made for kids, so it didn't really come off. With Clifford, I think it's going to be more of like a endearing kind of story. You're not going to be going for the laughs every 5 seconds. If they do, then they're aiming to the wrong target. I think you want to go more with like the story of this big red dog who clearly is by himself in the world, and then he meets a friend they can pal around together. That's what I'm hoping they go for. So it's a little bit more of a feel-good movie than just a cheap cash grab with a bunch of chipmunks running around.
Yeah, as long as they don't like make them dance around to like booty music, it'll be a little better.
Well,
Rocha?
You're fooling yourself if you think that's not going to happen. I know, I totally buy it. I think actually I like the idea of the writer, Justin Malin, who was writing the Baywatch movie. I'm assuming the Baywatch movie is going to have its tongue firmly planted in its cheek. So,
it's rated R.
Yeah, there we go. So I think this is what's going to be interesting about Clifford. It's going to understand what it is. It's going to play into the jokes, which I hope that's the concept and the path they're going to go on with this writer. I was so excited that the Astro Boy director was going to get a shot at this because it was going to be something else. Like, clearly something else. When you choose a director like that, you're trying to elevate a little bit this property in this genre. In that you don't want it to be Beethoven. You don't want it to be those kind of Air Bud movies. You want it to be something a little more interesting and elevated that could play to both kids and adults. adults. And it seems to me this is the path they're taking. And what Mark says, I agree with Mark. Like the fact that he's this huge makes it easier to play in the transition than those irritating Smurfs or irritating chipmunks. And I totally buy it. I think I loved reading the books when I was a kid. Emily was their partnership is always a fun partnership. And I know a lot of people who are dog owners who absolutely love this series and read it to their kids to get them to understand like connecting with their animals and their pets rather. So,
Sinead, did you ever read the books, and are you looking forward to the movie?
Yeah, I read all of them. I was obsessed, and I watched the TV shows too on like PBS, I think it was.
yeah.
You know all the canon of Clifford the Big Red.
I'm the pro. I honestly kind of just think it's a little random. Like I know that there's been talks of it before, but I thought that other things would be made along this line of like this whole CG live action trend that's clearly taking over right now. So I am surprised that they chose a property like Clifford the Big Red Dog, especially since it doesn't seem like it was that far away that was still kind of like a thing. So I don't know. I think it's kind of random. Do I buy the idea of it? Sure. I don't know if it's going to be good. Like you said, I hope that they do understand what it is and that the idea of a giant enormous dog is ridiculous and they play into that a little bit so it's not just some cheesy I hope that there's something in it for adults too, because we are the ones that grew up on it, especially.
And they don't modernize it, have them like people have cell phones and everything. And that's what I liked about the Peanuts animated movie was it felt like just like the original cartoons in comic books.
That's what the Smurfs movie should have done. The Smurfs should have stayed in Smurf Village or wherever the hell they live. Like, don't go into our world. Stay in your world. Keep the
stop
little blue
rapping
creatures.
and doing all that stuff. Yeah. All right, what's our last buy or sell?
Vinnie Jones took to Twitter announcing he'd be reuniting with his Snatch and Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels producer and now director Matthew Vaughn in Kingsman: The Golden Circle. On Twitter, Jones posted a pair of videos from the set of the film, holding up the day's newspapers to show fans he's telling the truth, and later posted photos of himself in costume next to Vaughn and his new co-star Julianne Moore. It's unclear at this time who exactly Jones is playing, though the England flag on his shoes suggests he could be a Kingsman or perhaps one of the baddies, given his photo with Moore. Taron Egerton returns as Eggsy alongside other returning members Mark Strong and Edward Holcroft. They'll be joined by newcomers Channing Tatum, Jeff Bridges, Halle Berry, Pedro Pascal, and music icon Elton John. Kingsman: The Golden Circle is scheduled to debut in theaters on June 16th, 2017. Rocha, do you buy or sell the addition of Vinnie Jones to Kingsman: The Golden Circle?
Oh yeah, now we're talking. Oh, absolutely buy this. Vinnie Jones in another Kingsman movie is awesome. He's a big fellow. He makes this sound and he's always destroying people. So you know it's going to be hardcore. I hope he's a villain. Because that's what I want to see. Him slamming people's heads into doors. Bullet Tooth Tony. I can't remember what his name was in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. But he's a fantastic actor. I love him to death. And I'm so excited for this. And the videos are perfect. That's the greatest thing about Kingsman. It understands what it is. It plays into it and still walks the line between serious and parody. And it's fun. It's so much fun. That film, that's why I'm so kind of down that Egerton, however you say his last name, didn't get in as Han Solo. I think it would. He has that right smirk for the Solo character. And so I was hoping he would be in there. So this, with Vinnie Jones coming in, it just takes the film, makes it more fun, makes it more interesting. The fact that he's taking these pictures with Julianne Moore just really let you know that they understand what they're doing. And the fact that he has British flag on his shoes, just brilliant stuff. So I love he's a great addition to it. Certainly going to do better than he did with Juggernaut in the X-Men Last Stand. So I'm so looking forward to seeing what Vinnie Jones can do with his fucking part.
Yeah, I buy it as well. He's one of those actors that you like to see in these small side characters.
Yeah.
He always brings something. Lock, Stock, Snatch, Juggernaut. I mean, he was there just to do that one line, right? I'm the Juggernaut,
I'm
bitch.
the Juggernaut. I'm your brother.
But the Instagram videos to me were a bit weird. I was
really?
Just like, were people like actually questioning whether he was in the movie or not? Like, it's just so strange because then he's like bringing out the newspaper. Like, this technique of kidnappers, like to show, look, hey, this is real, guy. Like, I didn't know it went that far. And who's out there on Twitter like, oh, you're lying, Vinnie Jones. You're not in Kingsman 2. I am. And then he has to bust out those newspapers. I thought that was a little odd, a little out of
How
left
many
field.
kidnapping videos do you watch on a daily basis? I didn't know that kidnappers. I thought that was like people who lose weight. They're like, hey, I'm this weight on this day, and here's the paper. And then like 3 months later, here's the paper. Now here's my new ripped body. Like that's what I know it from, as opposed to kidnapping. But hey, to each their own. I would not want to be kidnapped by Vinnie Jones. Now whether he is the villain in this or whether he's the hero, I like him either way. If he's a Kingsman, if he's somebody who's going against the Kingsman, he seems to be having so much fun already on set. Yeah. So I buy the videos. I think he's appealing to his fan base too, and I'm sure he has a lot of interaction with them online. The videos made me laugh. So if this movie is, if the videos are any indication as to how much fun they're having on set, as long as that fun transfers onto the screen next summer, I'm buying this. And I'm excited that it's coming out in less than a year now.
Yeah.
Doesn't always translate. Cowboys and Aliens, they had a lot of fun on set.
Yeah.
And then we saw the movie.
He's got such an interesting story because he was a soccer player, a professional soccer player for years, and then started his foray into acting. And Matthew Vaughn is the one that set him off, so Matthew Vaughn knows how to use him correctly. So I have nothing but faith that this.
He
is
was like
work.
a lunatic soccer player.
Yeah, he
like,
was.
He was
very much a
hooligan.
Yeah,
some might say.
I don't know if you'd say that, but certainly was a little dirty.
Yeah, and also, football.
The football.
Before
Well, they
our
call it-
international analysis.
Well, they call it soccer in England first, and then change it to football. Yes.
Right. Well, you were there when they created,
That's true.
created soccer, so you would know.
Yeah,
I take it from you.
The ball has come a long
Yeah,
way. It used to be just concrete around wood. It was not. It was very difficult to play the game back then.
And then you help them like shape it, like, oh no, if it's round, it'll roll.
It'll work better if it's not a square. It was a square. I don't know why they thought that
Kicking
would
a
work.
wooden block. Like this is really hard.
All right, guys, before we get into box office predictions, I want to check in with Wendy on the Wendy Cam. What are people saying about the main topics and the buy or sells?
For the main topics, that's Tintin 2. We've got a lot of people in the chat who love the first Tintin movie, but we've also got a lot of people who didn't go out and see the first movie, so they're saying that the second one isn't necessary. The Power 10 says, I'm ready for Tintin 2. Finally, this trilogy continues. As for the Secret Emblem project, maybe it's a joint venture with protege JJ. Could be Spielberg's addition to the Cloververse. Moving on to buy or sell, Pacific Rim 2. The chat was pretty divided on this. A lot are saying that the first one was boring, it was a yawn, and they don't care to see the second one. They're selling The Bad Moms, a new trailer as well. Chris Robinson says, it looks like a movie you could get a few chuckles out of on a lonely Tuesday night. For the It story, so while those red balloons are giving me the creeps, the chat's selling this. Some saying it's not going to hold up to the miniseries. And they're saying also that the concept art for Pennywise looks like Sweet Tooth from the Twisted Metal game. T. Van Pasta says, I don't like the idea of a scary-looking Pennywise. He should be scary based on his actions and not his appearance. There's nothing wrong with looking naturally freaky, yet definitely not scary. For the Big Red Dog live action, the chat is selling as well, saying the TV show is all right and there's no need for a movie. And moving on to the Vinnie Jones and the Kingsman, this is the only thing they're buying today in the buy or sell section. They're also buying John Rocha's British accent.
Thank you.
And as far as Vinnie Jones goes, just they like him, just they're saying that he kind of always plays the same type of villain.
All right, guys. Now we're on to box office predictions. This is our weekly Friday segment where we try and predict the top 5 movies come out this weekend, brought to you by our friends at AMC Theaters. John Rocha, what do you got up?
All right. So I will start with Finding Dory, still at number 1. I saw it a couple of days ago. Absolutely enjoyed it. Not as good as Finding Nemo, but I think it certainly has legs to stay at number 1. Should we go in reverse? Is that what we're supposed to do?
No, go
Doesn't
ahead.
matter? Okay.
It's too late. It's too late.
It's too late. Number 2, The Purge election year. I think people like this series. It's a third one in the series, and I think Frank Grillo does a great job in that part. I think they found their talisman for this series. I think that'll be second. I think Independence Day Resurgence will still have legs and be third. Legend of Tarzan, which is getting some mixed reviews, I think will fall down. I thought Tarzan would have a better shot, but it seems to be getting some mixed reviews, so I think it'll be fourth. And I think BFG will be fifth. I don't think people are clamoring for this film and are going to go in droves to see this film. With Finding Dory as the option, people will go back and see Finding Dory, I think, over BFG+. I don't think Mark Rylance has that name recognition to get people in the theaters to play the BFG, the Giant.
I have Finding Dory at number 1. I think we're all going to have that. Purge election year number 2. You're right. It has like this following to the franchise. They make them for really cheap, and they get a lot of people to come see them. Legend of Tarzan, a lot of mixed reviews. I saw it. It was, it was okay. But I don't think people, even before seeing the movie, I don't think people were just was a concept that people were really wanting to see. You know, we're in the era of like Star Wars and comic book movies. It's just, you know, I know some people call him like the original, like kind of superhero in a sense. BFG, I had number 4, which is surprising just because it's a Spielberg movie. You would think it would be higher up there, but I don't think the recognition has gotten around, and I don't know if maybe because it's geared more towards kids. I thought it was, you know, I liked it, I enjoyed it, it was charming. I don't know if it's going to hit the kids in the right way, where they're going to tell their parents, hey, I want to go see this movie. And number 5, I have Independence Day Resurgence. John Rocha's #1 movie of the year.
Stop it. Stop it.
You know, it's a tough week to call, and in a normal week, I would have had the BFG at number 1, but I think you guys are onto something, so I'm also going to take Finding Dory at 1, and I think that takes away enough family dollars from BFG to where the Purge election year is going to be in the number 2 spot. I have BFG at number 3. I think it's going to edge out Tarzan. Tarzan is going to be 4, and then Independence Day Resurgence is sadly still going to be in the top 5, even though it's one of the worst things you'll ever do to yourself. Your eyeballs, your ears, it's horrible. Never see it.
Well, speaking of BFG, we got actually a nice gift from Disney, a gift basket. Let's see here.
What do we go? Ooh.
All right, so if you guys can cut
Lovely
to this
Wendy.
camera, we got a nice thing of. We got this. Everyone knows I love Funko Pop, so we got this nice one for the big friendly giant.
Oh, there he is.
There you go.
Nice.
We got this giant pencil
That's dope.
here.
Is it a real pencil?
really
Yeah, it's a
Get it
real
right?
pencil. The world is more giant than you can imagine.
Awesome.
Dude, if I was in high school, I'd totally take the SATs with that. You know.
And then we also got this bottle of Frobscottle.
Frobscottle, that's what
is-
giants drink.
Yes.
And it makes them fart.
Yes, which it was, you know, it's unfortunate that Christian isn't here because it's like the favorite thing
Oh,
that he
yeah,
likes to
I would
do
say thank
or talk
goodness
about
Christian's
or
not
say.
here.
So we're going to drink a little bit here
Oh.
on set.
If you guys haven't seen the BFG, it actually I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it's besides Finding Dory, it might be the best option you can see in theaters right now, and it does have one of the best, maybe the best fart joke you'll see in a movie all year because of this stuff we're about to drink. So let's see what happens.
Here we go.
Everyone's.
Everyone got one.
Does this have alcohol in it?
And then you have one for yourself, Wendy?
I don't want my ankle bracelet to go off. Does this thing have alcohol in it? Ooh.
Your ankle bracelet to go off.
Are we cheersing?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey, since 2 of the people here weren't at my birthday party last Friday, we can cheers to my birthday.
I was babysitting.
Cheers to your birthday.
Cheers to your birthday.
Here's the dentist. Sorry, I was drinking. Sorry. Cheers. Happy 4th of July, everybody out there. And my birthday's next Thursday, so don't forget.
That is a sugar high.
Yeah.
Tangy. Don't
Good.
give this to your kids.
Oh, that was nice.
Like it.
This is damn
Cute.
good.
Cute.
It's got like a green apple tangy flavor to it.
Tangy is right.
Sugar flavored.
I like that. As you get older, your tastes change, and Grandpa's not as big on the sweet tarts.
Like the sugar hits his tongue a lot harder than it used to.
It's missing the bourbon. I need the bourbon to take the edge off.
All right, guys. Now we're on to mailbag, where you can send in your viewer submitted questions. You can send them in at collidervideo@gmail.com, and we'll pick them out either on this show or on our weekend show, Collider Mailbag. What's the first one, Sinead?
Chris writes, greetings and salutations, guys. Just a quick question. You talk about embargoes that film distributors impose on you and other reviewers. What are the ramifications if you break the embargo, and would they really impose them if you give an ultra-positive view of the film? Cheers, a UK version of Mr. Glasses.
I mean, the only real ramifications, at least from what I understand, is they just stop inviting you to early screenings, and they cut you out of like maybe press junkets or access to interviews. Do you know of any other ramifications?
I mean, I don't think there's any legal action they would take. I don't think it gets to that level. But if they say, hey, don't talk about this movie until Wednesday, you talk about the movie on Tuesday, you might not be invited to the next screening that studio has of another picture. So we try to play nice with everybody. And it makes sense from the studio standpoint where even if you love a movie, you don't want to get your review out ahead of the embargo because the studios have a carefully plotted plan as to how they're going to promote the movie. So they don't want that tidal wave to start earlier than what they're anticipating. So they just like to be ahead of the game when it comes to that stuff. So sometimes embargoes are just because they have their marketing strategy in place, and other times embargoes are there because they really don't want you to see the movie. They don't want bad word to get out, which was the case with Independence Day Resurgence. You know when this press screening for Independence Day Resurgence was? Friday. You know when the movie came out? Thursday.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this because I'm not involved in these embargoes or what have you. I just know that Vinnie Jones will come to your house, put your head in the car door, and slam it till you're dead. That's what I hear. I don't know. I don't get involved in these embargo things. I'm not up in the high echelon like you two. So whatever crumbs come off the table, I get to go see. As a plus one.
You're drinking off Rob Scott.
But another thing too is even if you have a super positive review, they don't want you to release it early because then other people who have their reviews waiting are looking at you like, okay, that person broke the embargo. Well,
right.
I might as well go, and maybe they don't have a super positive review. So it's one of those things where it's like, they want everyone to be on the same level, on the same playing field, so that they don't have any bias towards anyone. Because then they'll be like, oh, you only let the people who like the movie release first, and then you held back all the rest of them. All right, what's next?
Adam writes, what's one thing that you love in a movie that you hate with rage, and what's one thing that you hate in a movie that you love? I'm expecting to hear Independence Day 2, The Godfather 1 and 2, Transformers, and Jaws, and your answers, and I give you permission to give me the shit rat face to the max.
Mark, do you have any of these
Oh,
examples?
yeah, I got a bunch of them. So in a movie that I otherwise hate or dislike, or is not a good movie, but there's one thing in there that I really love, the easiest way for me to answer that is to look for some sort of musical interlude where at least, I like that. So when my favorite band is featured in a movie, it's not always the best movie, but if you go watch Mission to Mars, there's a great scene in there where they're listening to Dance the Night Away and there's no gravity and it's really cool. There's also that bad movie with Adam Sandler and Jack Nicholson called Anger Management, but they play the song Ice Cream Man during a fight and it really works well. So those are my two picks for movies that I hate, but there's one thing to love about them. On the other side of the ledger, a movie that I absolutely love with one scene in there that I cannot stand is Gremlins. It's an all-time great. It's a holiday classic, but there's one scene in there where you can hear the tires just... Everything comes to a stop when Phoebe Cates starts talking about how her dad died. He dressed up like Santa Claus, tried to go down the chimney to bring the kids presents, got stuck in the chimney, and nobody found him for 3 days until they started smelling something, so they got people to go look in the chimney, and they found her dead dad. That's in the movie. Why?
That sounds really depressing.
It's horrible. And then the next scene is like Gremlins dancing on a chandelier, and okay, we're back to fun, scary stuff. Horrible.
Rocha?
All right. So, by the way, can I finish this off?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. This is good shit. Good stuff. I would say the thing that I hate.
Rocha's drunk on Frog
Let me just tell you something about films that I hate. Georges Méliès in A Trip to the Moon, when he was doing... for me, it's that scene at the end of Lord of the Rings where they all jump into Frodo's bed. Holy crap. What is that all about? I mean, you can take your 6 endings and your black frames. I can handle the 6 endings and black frames. The jumping in the bed, Lord, what is going on there? And I love that they did a meme or a video meme of it, which is, if you haven't seen it, go find it. They put it to a song, which I cannot say here, but it's a great song and perfectly fits what's happening in that scene. It's really strange. I also hated the rat scene at the end of The Departed.
I have that on my list.
Do you? Okay,
it's too on the nose.
Yeah, it's so on the nose. Like, what do you need it? We get it.
We saw the whole movie.
Yeah, we saw the whole movie. We get what it's about. And you took care of it. You exterminated the rat. Spoiler alert. So, like, why show it going across? It's overkill. In terms of for me, the scenes that I like in movies that are not good, I would say the highway sequence in Matrix Reloaded is fantastic, and the battle scene in Matrix Revolutions is amazing. Everything else around it is too convoluted, kills what the first Matrix was supposed to be all about. And I would say Ripley killing her alien baby in Alien 3, like right at the end, was just like, why? The film was actually really good. I'm one of these supporters of Alien 3. I think Fincher did a great job with that film. But
really? Too much Frob's got her.
Let me tell you something.
For me, my bad scene,
God.
good movie you already took with the rat scene at the party. It was just, we had this whole movie about this, one thing, and then they didn't really have to put that kind of button on there. In terms of good sequences and bad movies, we have that opening sequence in Wolverine Origins, X-Men Origins. It's that the kind of montage sequence with him and Sabretooth fighting through all the wars, and you see the transitions and how Sabretooth is changing and how Wolverine reacts to it. I thought that was fantastic, and then you had the rest of the movie. This is not a bad movie, even though a lot of people say it is. I just thought it was very disappointing. The Superman Returns. I thought the scene where he actually saves the airplane is actually fantastic, and it happens about maybe 1/3, 1/2 way through the movie, and I was like, okay, cool. We're this is leading up to something even bigger and better, and it just goes all downhill from there. And then shout out to the Phantom Menace. I mean, the Darth Maul sequence, lightsaber sequence fighting at the end was entertaining. It's not. I still prefer the old school Empire Strikes Back lightsabers fighting sequence, but I can't deny that at least the Darth Maul thing was entertaining.
Yeah, look, there's good parts about every one of the prequel movies. There's some good to be taken out of there. Like Darth Vader, there is still good in them.
Yeah. All right, guys, before we get into live Twitter questions, I want to let you guys know that we will be doing another Facebook Live thing. All you got to do is go to facebook.com and find the Collider page. We'll do a quick 10-minute Q&A after this show. Sure. Talking about whatever questions that you guys want to ask us. But for now, let's get on to live Twitter questions. You can tweet us at Collider Video. Sinead, what do we got first?
All right. At Mojo Blaster tweets, would you guys consider doing an animated Collider segment called Collidermation or Collider Tunes? What are your thoughts?
I think we'd be open to it. I just feel like right now, especially with John Rocha, you have your new show, Top 10.
Yeah.
I think that's our last new show for a while.
Got in there under the wire.
We've been pumping out a lot of content lately. We have Nightmares, TV Talk, and now the Top 10 show. It's something, video games, animation. People have been talking about even sports and MMA and all that stuff. I think those things are all possibilities, but we have to revisit it later down the line.
There's definitely a market for it, yeah. And I mean, coming this fall, you can catch me and Rocha right down the street at Barney's just bitching about our team, the Redskins. So tune in for that.
The Washington area professional football team, yes.
Yeah, it's $10 a ticket to sit next to us and watch us complain.
All right, what's another one?
Brian Lee tweets, hey team, would you like to see Incredibles 2 start straight after Incredibles or 20 years later where Jack is now a 20-year-old?
That's a good question.
Coming out, 17 years later or 15 years? What's the difference? Something like that?
It came out in 2005, and
Thanks, Scott, man.
Or no, 2004, actually. November 2004, I believe.
2004,
so that's gonna be like a
The
good,
Incredibles, Pixar, great movie.
15,
Came out on Friday
13, 14 years.
when the sun was out.
I mean, I don't want to see it take place that far in advance because I love Craig T. Nelson's Mr. Incredible so much that I don't want to see because every time there's a movie that takes place 20 years later, you always have to kill off the dad character that was in. It's no, I don't want to see anybody die. It's The Incredibles. Just have a new adventure together. So I'd like it to be relatively close to the time period that we already know.
What if Jack was like a toddler, like a 3 or 4-year-old maybe even, and he's just starting to develop his powers?
You're pushing it, Sinead. You're really testing my patience.
What's your cutoff?
No, I don't care. I mean, I think it's cool.
I was like, geez.
You're so passionate about the age difference.
Family Guy's been on the air for 17 years now, and Stewie hasn't aged a day, and I think it's hilarious. So you can just keep telling stories. The same thing with The Simpsons. So
please, Maggie's still a baby on The Simpsons. Yeah, exactly. I would like to see Jack in high school. That makes sense. Parents dealing, that's relatable. Parents dealing with kids in high school. The thing that was great about the first Incredibles was it was real life. A marriage was in trouble. They're trying to figure things out. They were dealing with the fact that they both had taken career changes, how that affects the home life. And that was what was so great about Incredibles. It's a very adult film, actually, when you look at it. So why wouldn't the next stage be about seeing how they deal with their newest going through high school? They already dealt with the first two kids already probably gone through high school. So this would be fun, and there'd be a lot of things that go on, and it would make it relatable to kids nowadays who are in that same time frame. And those are the ones that probably will come with their parents as well. Or come on their own.
I mean, I wouldn't mind junior high school,
Yeah,
or leaving high school, going to college. Sure. They're sending them off.
Right.
So.
Oh, dear goodness. No. The cutoff is going to be second grade for Jack. Second grade. That's as high as I'll go.
The mighty Mark Ellis has spoken.
Yeah. I have no pull.
Yeah.
With anybody. See ya.
All right, what's next?
Tyler tweets, if the purge was real, what would you do?
Oh.
If the purge was real, I mean, I don't see myself purging. I know.
Yeah, me either.
Occasionally I get a little angry. I've been a little angry for the last 12 hours. I don't know why. I think I'm revving up to this event that's about to happen. So if the purge was real, you know what I would do? And I don't understand why people in the purge movies don't do this. I would book a flight and I would get the hell out of America where this thing takes place, because people from other countries don't have the purge. You actually have some crazy tourists in election year who fly into America so they can take place in the purge. So I will just swap out Airbnb with them. I'm like, yeah, you come over here, I'll go stay at your place for whatever the purge is, and then I'll come back to America once they clean up the streets a little bit.
Yeah, if I can't do that, then I'm gonna try and fortify my place. I'm not gonna go out purging, but I would probably try and find some place I could fortify.
Listen, brother got bills, so I'd be trying to get some money and stealing stuff and trying to make some, like, store up money for a year. So I'd have stuff in the house and everything. So I'd be robbing banks.
That's not
doing
bad. I don't hate that idea at all.
I wouldn't get on a plane, because if people are criminals, they're going to want to crash the plane, like, logically.
You leave 2 weeks before the
Right.
purge
They
starts.
announce when the purge is
all
going to
right,
happen.
That's fair.
I'm not showing up to LAX when the purge starts.
like the time, like the,
Yeah.
He's like, and.
Yeah. I don't hate. Okay, but let me ask you this. Let's say that, like, Collider,
found
and
something
we're
on
like,
Kayak.
okay,
Yeah.
guys, hey, we're all like if the purge was real, and like Dennis made the announcement, he's like, hey guys, so for the purge, we're gonna be out on the streets, everybody's gonna be high fiving.
Yeah.
Would you
No.
be the one that stays home? Like everybody else was going out and purging, all your friends were purging, all the cool kids are doing it. Would there be some peer pressure involved? Like, you know,
I would not go.
no,
I'm
stay
too
at
old.
home.
I don't want to go.
Okay.
I've seen enough purges.
You've been through a lot of them.
Yeah, it never ends well. It never ends well.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of purges, he said, as he took a long, hard pull off his gobble scotter bottle.
Oh, God, this is terrible, this stuff. I love it. It's so
All
good.
right, let's do 2 more.
Okay, all right. Anthony Shannon tweets, the soundtrack to Deadpool really added to the awesomeness. What soundtrack really adds to the movie for you?
Oh, great question. I mean, I think Dazed and Confused is one of the best classic rock soundtracks you will ever get. I'm partial to the Twister soundtrack for a number of reasons. There's also a great Deep Purple cut in there. So I like the ones that have rock music that I care about. So if we're not talking about like great scores like Star Wars or Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, I'm going to say Dazed and Confused is probably the all-time greatest soundtrack as a collection of bands that I already love.
I would counter with 3. I would counter with Guardians of the Galaxy. That's an awesome soundtrack.
Nice.
Pulp Fiction is a fantastic soundtrack that really adds to the movie. And I would say Dead Presidents has a phenomenal 70s R&B, old school soul soundtrack that is fantastic for that film. It elevates the film from just a normal gangster heist thing, you know. And so that's what I would say.
You and I are going to be getting a lot of Dead Presidents during the purge. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can't think of too many of soundtracks. You guys took a lot of the good ones.
Top Gun's a great one, too.
Oh,
If you want to
yeah.
feel like you're in 1986,
Yeah.
crank up the Top Gun soundtrack. You have the hard rock, well, as hard rock as Kenny Loggins gets. You got to get a Cheap Trick, Mighty Wings, not to be forgotten.
Yep.
Harold Faltermeyer crushing it with the score, the Top Gun theme played by Steve Stevens, I believe. And then you have everybody's favorite, the sappy Take My Breath Away by Berlin. Whew, what a album.
How are you leaving off Kenny Loggins?
I said Kenny Loggins.
Did you say at the beginning?
I did.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I was
he
so
did
caught up.
Danger Zone. He also did
Yeah.
Playing with the Boys, which is,
Playing with
you
the
know,
Boys.
every time I play volleyball in the sand, which is more frequent than you might expect. You got to play Playing with the Boys.
For me, as a teenager in the '90s, I was big into grunge. So the Singles soundtrack.
Oh,
even though
good one.
even though the movie I liked it, but I didn't love it. But they had Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, Chris Cornell, Soundgarden. A lot of the Smashing Pumpkins, Screaming Trees. So
It
that
is
one for
cool
me.
when there's a movie that comes out during a time period and when you listen to the soundtrack, it brings you back. Like So I Married an Axe Murderer, I believe, came out in 1993. It's not a great movie. It's got some moments, but the soundtrack, you feel like you're there. You have Toad the Wet Sprocket, you got Ned's Atomic Dustbin, a lot of good stuff. And both the Wayne's World movies have great soundtracks.
Dumb and Dumber has a good soundtrack.
Yes, it does.
I thought
Eclectic.
what you made me think of something what you just said, Mark. The Crow. The Crow soundtrack
yeah,
is
that was great.
awesome.
Yes.
The Crow soundtrack totally brings you back to that time in 90s music. Then that Nine Inch Nails was just about to blow up. You had all these other bands.
Stone Temple Pilots
Stone Temple
song.
Pilots are on
Better
there.
Than Ezra?
Great
Yeah.
stuff. All the stuff that was on that soundtrack. Absolutely. I still have that. Still play it every once in a while.
All right, one more.
Muhammad tweets, since BVS Ultimate Edition is getting good reviews, do you think Fox will release the real Fantastic Four film?
No, I think it's a different scenario. I think with Batman v Superman, they had that 3-hour cut or the longer cut, and they forced them to cut it down. They already had it. Where Fantastic Four, I think it was reshoots, and they changed it actually within production, where Batman v Superman happened in post-production, so it was easier to put all those things back, where I think Fantastic Four probably has like a lot of missing pieces. If you were to, let's say, go back to what Josh Trank's vision was, they would be like, oh, but we're missing this, we're missing this, and we're missing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting concept because there's more room for improvement with Fantastic Four because that whole third act was just so bad that you would hope that, oh, maybe we can pick up the pieces off the cutting room floor. I just don't think that's the case. Whereas with Batman versus Superman, which I enjoyed a lot of it, but the Ultimate Edition, I don't see how 30 more minutes of footage, while I might enjoy that 30 minutes, is going to help, put a Band-Aid on the problem of that movie for me, which is a certain mom's name. So
Yeah. Schnepp liked it though, so I'm gonna give it a chance when it comes out and see if what he said was right, because he didn't like the movie.
But yeah, he was the
saw
most vocal
Ultimate-
out of anyone here about disliking the movie,
Yeah.
and then he,
Flipped. Yeah.
For weeks, we could be talking about an entirely different movie. We could be talking about best soundtracks of all time, and Schnepp would be able to segue back into why he hated Batman versus Superman.
and then why he likes the Ultimate Edition.
And then now he likes the Ultimate Edition. I'm happy for John Schnepp,
That's
man.
right.
He deserved to like that movie at some point, so I'm glad he got to see the Ultimate Edition.
What was the question? Because I have an answer here.
Okay, should they make a
Oh
Ultimate
yeah, okay. So
version
we got
for
off track.
Fantastic Four?
Listen, I'm old and there's something in
Yeah.
this, so I don't want to tell you. No, here's the. I would say this is possible to have I think it would be possible to release if they had a better relationship with Josh Trank. The fact that Josh Trank set fire to that relationship, burned that bridge, and then I think that does not make the studio want to release a complete version of his version of the Fantastic Four. I think if he'd had a better relationship with then maybe they would save some of that and kind of go like, well, look, we'll see what it does. If it's terrible, then we'll keep this in reserve maybe, and blah, blah, blah. Because they've been releasing director's cuts for quite some time now, and so it's certainly possible if he had kept a better relationship with the studio that they could do that. But you might be right, Dennis, though. They may have cut as they went along, and therefore the footage is completely lost. Because I don't know if it's a PR thing, but they all come out and say, oh, a better version, he had a better version, he had a darker version, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, that you can say that, but we have no proof.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, guys, that's it for today's show. I think the people join us at the table today, drunk off Frobscottle. John Rocha, where can people find you?
This is great stuff. You'll find me at the Propscottle bar, having a double of these. No, listen, thanks everybody for following us and giving us such great feedback on the Top 10 show. You guys were amazing. Thanks for watching it this week. We got one coming out, obviously, next week. We're going to try to keep going as this goes forward. And we got some special guests coming up, so please subscribe and like and comment and what have you on YouTube for the show. And it's available in podcast form on the Collider.com. Yeah, Collider.com website there. So please follow me at The Rocha Says for Twitter and Instagram. You can see all the shows I host or co-host and all the shows I get to be a guest on like this, which is always a blast. And one last thing, my Cinephiles podcast, which I do with my film professor friend Steve Morris. Today we released our third episode. We are talking about Superman, Richard Donner's Superman, and we have special guest Michael Vogel, who is executive producer of the new My Little Pony movie, and a personal friend of mine. He's come on, and we talk about the film because it's his favorite film, and we also go into a little bit of Man of Steel. So if you want to find that on iTunes, it's CINE-FILES.
And Mark Ellis, you'll be doing a little battling later today.
And I raise a Frobscottle to all of you out there who are going to watch me dominate JTE in the movie trivia schmodown. It happens in a mere few hours, and I am ready to go. I did my hyperbaric chamber last night. I cannot wait to embarrass him in front of all the world to see. He's going to want to purge against me, but he's not going to have the chance because I'm going to run him down. I'm going to flush him down the toilet like the little bug. He's a nice guy. I'm just going to beat him in the schmodown. You can also check out, I'm going to be in Iowa City next week. Iowa City and Jefferson City, doing 2 theaters there. And then the week after, I'll be in Fort Lauderdale at the Improv, telling jokes, celebrating my victory over JTE. Happy 4th, everybody.
And Sinead, where can people find you?
I'm online at Sinead DeVries and at thatsosinead.com. On Mondays here hosting Collider TV Talk, on Fridays for Movie Talk, and over the weekends hosting Mailbag.
And Wendy, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat at Wendy Lee Zaney. Bye, guys.
And just a reminder, we are not going to have a movie talk show on Monday, July 4th, but we will be back on Tuesday. Also, we'll have the mailbag shows on Saturday and Sunday. You can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero or on Instagram, Dennis.tzeng. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/collidervideos, and we'll see you guys next time.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.